Hello and welcome to 12.1 video. This video is going to be about naming and locating points on the coordinate plane. So as you know, the coordinate plane has four quadrants. We have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4, all going in counterclockwise. So I'm going to show you, this is quadrant 1, this is quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. And what splits those quadrants are the y-axis, which is our vertical line, and our x-axis, which is our horizontal line. When plotting numbers, there are certain rules. We always move left or right on the x-axis first. Then we move up or down on the y-axis next. I tend to think of it like x comes before y in the alphabet. So we move along the x-axis first before we go up or down on the y. Another way to think about it is when you are walking on the floor, you need to walk on the elevator before you can go up or down in the elevator. So think about the x-axis being the floor and the y-axis is the up or down in the elevator. So let's look at some of these points and decide where they are located. So letter G is right here. G is in the first, second, third, fourth quadrant. I've noticed in the fourth quadrant I have positive numbers and then I go down negative numbers. So here's G. The rule is I always must walk along the x-axis first by starting at the origin. So if I start at the origin, I know I need to make my way over to the right and then down. So I'm going to walk over to the number 4 because it's along the y-axis along this part. And so if I go over to the 4 and then I go down to hit the G, I'm actually going down to -4 on the y-axis. So I go over 4 on the x-axis. And then I'm moving along the y-axis here down to the number -4. So the letter G is at +4, comma, -4. Think of it like streets in Manhattan. You can't walk diagonally. You have to walk over and up or down first. So the letter E, which is in quadrant 2, which is right here, in order to get to E, I always begin at the origin. And I know I'm going to walk along the x or the y-axis, the x-axis first, and then up the y-axis. So if I'm starting at the origin, I'd have to move over to -2 and then up to +4. It's like making an L. So I walk over and up. So I'm going to walk over to -2 street, comma, and then I walk up to +4 street. Okay, the letter F. Take a minute and think about where you think the letter F is, and then come back and see if you're correct. Why don't you go ahead and try to plot the letter F and the letter H. Alrighty, how did you do? Well, the letter F, you'd have to move over to +3 and then move up to +2. Quadrant 1 has all positive numbers. If you look at quadrant 2, that has negative and positive. Quadrant 3, we'd be moving over negative and down into negative. And quadrant 4, we're moving over positive and down negative. So all the points in quadrant 1 are positive, comma, positive. Quadrant 2 is over negative, up positive. Quadrant 3 is over negative, down negative. And quadrant 4 is over positive, down negative. So quadrant 1 and quadrant 3 have something in common in that they have the same signs. Quadrant 1 is all positive, quadrant 3 is all negative. Quadrant 2 and 4, the even quadrants, are the opposites of each other. Negative, positive, positive, negative. So letter F is at +3, +2, and letter H, we go over to -1 and down to -3. All right, let's look at this question together. Write the ordered pairs that represent the location of Sam and the theater. So I go over here and I see that Sam is in quadrant 1, and Sam is, remember, go over the x-axis first and then up. So I'm going to go over 4 and up 2. So it's 4, comma 2. That's for Sam. In the theater, I need to go over to -3 and up to 5. So -3, comma 5. Describe Sam's location relative to the theater. So Sam is how many positions away from the theater? Well, you can count units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sort of blocks away. We don't count them diagonally. Sam wants to meet his friend Beth at a restaurant before they go to the theater. The restaurant is 9 kilometers south of the theater. So let's just erase this so we can see. So here's the theater. The restaurant is 9 kilometers south of the theater. So if we're standing at the theater and we're going to move south, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I knew I was going south because of this here. Tells me where south is. What are the coordinates of that point? Well, let's see. I think we'd go over 3 because the theater is at -3. So it's -3, comma, -4. I hope this video helped you feel more confident moving around the coordinate plane. Remember, always move along the x-axis first, then move up or down on the y-axis. It can be a little tricky at first, but just remember, x comes before y.